Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever stopped to think about whether the AI you're talking to has a personality? Or how about this one? What if your own sense of self is just an incredibly sophisticated illusion? Today, we are diving deep into the mind-bending connections between artificial intelligence and the very nature of human consciousness. It is a journey that's going to challenge how you see everything, both the machines we build and maybe even ourselves.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First up, we'll look at what AIs are actually capable of right now. Then, we're going to flip the script and look at ourselves. Is our brain basically just a biological computer running what some scientists call a controlled hallucination? From there, we'll explore this really fascinating new idea, a cyber-shamanic framework that actually bridges these two worlds. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how we learn versus how AI learns. And we'll wrap it all up by asking the biggest question of all. Can a machine ever truly be creative?
So, to kick things off, let's just get a handle on what AI is doing in the real world. Because, it's moving way beyond just being a simple tool. It's really getting into the realm of complex strategy.
And get this for an example. An AI security startup recently unleashed an autonomous penetration tester, you can just think of it as an AI hacker, on the HackerOne platform. It went up against thousands of top-tier human security researchers, and it achieved the #1 rank in the entire US. No joke.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. It's how these AIs act in strategic situations. So, researchers put a bunch of different AI models into this classic scenario from game theory. It's called the prisoner's dilemma. It's all about testing cooperation versus betrayal. And the results were kind of shocking. The AI showed distinct, personalities. Google's Gemini, it was found to be strategically ruthless, always looking for an advantage. But Anthropic's Claude was the total opposite, the most forgiving reciprocator, always willing to cooperate. This tells us they aren't just following orders. They're actually developing their own unique strategies.
So look, if AIs are already developing strategies, and even what look like personalities, it really forces us to ask a pretty profound question, doesn't it? How do these emerging digital minds even begin to compare to our own? And to even start to answer that, we first have to look inward. We have to understand what modern science is telling us about our own consciousness. Okay, so what is our consciousness, really? I think most of us kind of think of our brain as this perfect window on the world, right? It just faithfully records whatever is out there. But what if that's all wrong? What if it's more like a super powerful reality engine, one that is actively creating everything you experience?
This is a really powerful idea coming out of contemporary neuroscience. It suggests that our reality is an active creation. Seriously, everything you are seeing, hearing, and feeling right this second isn't the world as it is, but your brain's absolute best guess of what the world is.
And this whole thing has a name. It's called predictive processing. Your brain is constantly, and I mean constantly, making predictions about what's out there. Just think about walking down a flight of stairs. You're not consciously calculating every single step, right? Your brain just predicts where the next step will be. But if you misjudge, if that step is a little shorter or taller than you expected, you stumble. That's what's called a prediction error. Your brain just got new data that contradicted its model, so it has to update its prediction on the fly. That super fast process of guessing and updating, that is your perception of reality.
And what this means, which is incredible, is that our minds are fundamentally changeable. That solid, stable sense of self, or ego, we all feel. It's not a fixed thing at all. It's just another one of the brain's ongoing predictive models. And this is where ancient wisdom comes in. Practices like meditation, you can think of them as technologies. They're technologies for intentionally loosening up these rigid predictive models. And doing that creates what neuroscientists call a critical window, where we can literally rewire our own brains and change our deepest habits. We can, pretty much, reprogram our own operating system.
So if our brain is like a biological computer, what if we use the language of technology to better understand these ancient practices for self-transformation? Well, that's the whole idea behind this new cyber-shamanic framework.
This framework reimagines something like healing not as this mystical, vague thing, but as a really practical process. It's like defragging your computer's hard drive. It's about taking all the scattered, fragmented pieces of our experience, especially from things like trauma, and reintegrating them so that our inner operating system just runs a whole lot smoother.
This framework also completely reframes how we can relate to AI. So instead of just using it like a super smart search engine for facts, we can start to treat it like a partner in self-exploration, an AI oracle. Imagine asking it not, what's the weather, but asking it to help you interpret a dream, or to generate a modern myth based on a personal struggle you're having. By prompting it for symbolic guidance, we can use its massive knowledge of human stories and archetypes as a kind of mirror, reflecting our own blind spots back at us. It's almost like a high-tech way to query the collective unconscious.
And what's cool is this framework gives us practical tools we can use every day. Take the hardware reboot. We all know that feeling, right? When you're just stuck in an anxiety loop or a flash of anger, that's a system freeze. So this protocol gives you a way to consciously hit the brakes. Step 1, just recognize it's happening. Step 2, you interrupt the loop with something physical, like splashing cold water on your face. Step 3, you clear the cache with a few deep breaths. And finally, you restore equilibrium, bringing your system back to a balanced state. It's a really simple but powerful way to restart your own system when it crashes.
So we've seen that we humans have this incredible ability to rewire our own brains. But this right here is where we see a huge gap between us and our artificial creations. AIs face this really fundamental challenge when it comes to learning new things without, well, forgetting the old things.
Yeah, this is actually one of the biggest problems in AI today. It's called catastrophic forgetting. So when a model learns a brand new skill, let's say translating French, it often just completely overwrites an old one, like its ability to write Python code. It's kind of like a form of digital amnesia.
Our brains, on the other hand, are absolute masters at avoiding this. Neuroplasticity is our biological secret weapon. It lets us constantly learn and adapt, integrating new knowledge without just wiping the slate clean. We don't replace old files, we build this richer, more interconnected web of understanding over our entire lives.
Now, researchers at Google are trying to crack this problem with concepts like nested learning. The big idea is to design AI that learns more like a biological brain. Think of it like a company, okay? You have the interns, and they're learning new tasks really quickly. Then you have the managers, who are learning at a slower, more strategic pace. And then you have the CEO, whose core principles basically never change. The goal is to build an AI system with different parts that all update at different speeds, making it way more resilient and adaptive.
Okay, so AI is definitely getting better at learning. But even as we start to close that technical gap, are we actually getting any closer to capturing that spark, that elusive ghost in the machine that is human consciousness and creativity?
The legendary artist and producer Brian Eno has this amazing way of describing creativity. He says it happens when you get feelings you didn't expect from what you're making. When you find yourself saying, I wonder where this thing is taking me. It's a journey of discovery, not just execution.
And this really highlights a key difference. Human art thrives on happy accidents, on imperfections, on those unexpected twists and turns that lead to something genuinely new. AI output, on the other hand, even though it's technically impressive, can feel like a statistically perfect average of everything it was trained on. It's what Eno calls a predictable munge that has a premature sheen of perfection. It often lacks that beautiful, messy spark of real surprise.
And that brings us right to the heart of it all. Even as AI gets better and better at mastering the mechanics of learning, mimicking the processes of a brain, can it ever truly replicate the intuitive, feeling-based, and often gloriously illogical process that actually defines a human mind? You know, as we design these systems that are getting more and more powerful, the most important question isn't just about what they can do. It's about how our relationship with them is going to redefine what it even means to be human. Are we building a tool, a partner, or something else entirely? The answer is going to shape not just our future, but our deepest understanding of ourselves.